Hello everyone, welcome to the Northland Artist Conversation. My name is Mark Kelly. I am your host on this wonderful, wonderful journey. It's an interesting time. So you're probably going to be watching this sometime in October 2024. The sun has come out. It's been great. We've had some really, really beautiful sunny days. Somewhere there's been torrential rain, not anywhere near as bad as Dunedin, but it's becoming a warmer time of the year. This is the sort of time of year that I love, where we just sort of start transitioning into the summer, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm joined. Oh God, what are you doing, producer Andrew? You're driving the whole podcast.
Driving the whole podcast,
man. Yeah, it's been a crazy time. Time. So much going on. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
Well, starting a new job, getting used to that.
Yes.
We're kind of heading into the Christmas period.
Do you guys go down or go up?
I don't know. I'm too new at this company.
Too new.
But no, I've just been doing a bit of working behind the scenes on a few little projects, creative projects, and working on OBC as per usual. So
yeah, nice man. And we're gonna start seeing some of those projects roll out next year, aren't we?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be cool, man.
I got a list of dates.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we're not going to give too much away, are we?
Not yet.
No, I think that's important. I'm going to switch to my camera. Today's podcast, Brent Strathdee-Pehi. Wow, what a cool guy. He just kind of messaged me out of the the podcast out of the blue, and we just kind of got talking, and he was like, hey, I'd love to come in and sit down and chat, and I was like, yeah, cool, sweet as. Gave him some dates, and he was like, yeah, it's not going to work. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what will work for you? And he sort of said, well, can you guys do a Sunday? And I was like, maybe. So we just said yes, and he came in, sat down, absolutely killed it, man. He has got some amazing stories, and he has no issue talking at all, and it's amazing to see. Just super chatty, super conversational, such a really, really nice guy, and I'm definitely looking forward to having him come back later on, so he can come in and sit down with us. So I'm going to shut up. Let's sit down and have a conversation with Brent Strathdee-Pehi. Start or shall I start?
You start.
I'll start.
Yeah, you're the host.
Oh, yeah, I am. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, Brent, kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Now, for me, this is kind of cool because we just kind of emailed each other out of the blue.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, can we do a Sunday? And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then here we are.
Yes.
Because you're heading out, aren't you?
I am. I'm all over the place actually.
Yeah.
My lifestyle's pretty transient these days, but in a good way, in a designed way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm up here for the week, seeing friends and family.
Yeah.
I'm from the area, so I got lots of friends and family
Yeah.
around the place, and I've been sort of I've been back and forward, not only domestically but internationally for some time, so I enjoy the times I get to be back up north, and
nice, man.
Especially to catch up with my children and grandchildren, etc., and my musical partner in crime at the moment. So yeah, it was I'm here for the week, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, nice. Yep. With all our podcasts, we sort of like to go on the journey.
Sure.
How you got to where you are now.
Yep.
So let's go right back.
Mm-hmm.
Mum and Dad, were they musical?
Yeah, well, I am from a very musical family. Like
Okay.
I was raised with my mum primarily, and my family on my mum's side very musical.
Yeah.
My grandfather was in music. He comes from that 1960s Māori volcanics era.
Oh wow!
And he was big in that era. Like,
Yeah.
he was, when I say he was big, I mean he was amongst that.
Yeah.
And he even we have funny family stories through him. Like Sir Howard Morrison.
Yeah.
My grandfather. He only passed away about 5 years ago. He was a real soldier, but he was like a few years older than Sir Howard Morrison and his quartet.
Yeah.
And they used to come and crash at my family. My grandmother would cook for them.
No way.
On the way to gigs back in the days. Like this is when they were like hustling, you know, like they were gigging cabaret styles and all of that era.
Yeah.
And so my grandfather was amongst that type of caliber of people as far as music goes. You know, I'm name dropping. They weren't all glamorous. They weren't all on that level of because this is pre Sir Howard Morrison being a big iconic New Zealander, you know. This is the early gigging days. So we grew up in my family with that legacy of my granddad especially, and he obviously raised his family around music, which included my mum. So all my mum and her sisters and brothers, they were all very musical. My mum was performing on stage from the age of 4 or 5. Like my granddad also ran the Devon Lodge in New Plymouth back for a few years.
Oh, no way.
And that was quite iconic in the days.
Yep.
And he would book bands and he would also perform. He even like played at Bowler Brooklands back in the old days. These were the days of like Sir Howard Morrison's just a big name off the top of the head, but there was that era. So to answer your question, right back to the beginning, musical family. I was brought up with my mum. She loved music. I was born in the mid 70s, so I grew up with her music first.
Yeah.
You know, and I always loved music from a young age. So I grew up around a lot of it. And funnily enough, though, later on I got involved in music, and I really got passionate and fell in love with it myself.
Yeah.
But without trying to sound self-deprecating, in a phony way, I'm not talented like my family members, like I've grown up around people that have natural God-given talent.
Yeah.
They sing beautifully, naturally. They harmonize automatically, like a lot of Māori people do, Māori families and that. So we've all grown up, not we've all, but many of us have grown up around that type of environment. And of course, culturally, we used to music through marae, through whatever, karakia, waiata, kapahaka. I didn't grow up deeply in that world, but was exposed to it. And so, I always saw it around me, admired it, and then, but always, funnily enough, didn't feel like I was blessed with that talent. I just loved it. And I maybe got some talent. I mean, you can never measure these things, but I got a little bit of talent, and I've milked it. I continue to milk it and develop it as best I can. So
What would you say is more important, talent, perseverance, or a combination of the two?
If I had to choose one or the other, I would go with the little bit of talent with the good perseverance, because I've known lots of very talented people in my time, and it's there's no rule about it. I just think that there's been a lot of I've seen a lot of wasted talent, actually. It sounds a bit bloody glum, but I've seen a lot of people with massive talent, and often they are doing the least.
Yeah,
I'll be honest about it. Like but then you're
discipline, right?
Discipline, or just that. Yeah, when you have a bit of talent or a kernel of talent, and you love it, and you've got a sense of like ambition about it, not necessarily in the industry or whatever, but just you want to do it desperately, then a little bit of talent and a lot of enthusiasm is often more productive than a whole lot of talent. Because I guess it's like the same in sports or anything, right? Like people who have God-given talent often didn't work for it, and it's hard to appreciate it. It's just they just got it, and it's there, and whatever, take
it for granted.
So if I had to err towards one or the other, I think energy and passion. I don't know, work ethic sounds all very stuffy and dry, but passion is certainly a big element.
You have to have a large amount
of
passion.
Love it.
Yeah,
you have to love it, and you have to love the unglamorous parts of it, which is most of it.
Like
a lot of it's really hard work, and but if you love that hard work, and you love the result that you create, like I said to you earlier, you can't lose.
No.
Like the art is a reward unto itself.
Yeah.
And everything else is a bonus. That's how I've seen it for a while now. And you can't lose.
No, you can't.
Like what better position to be in?
Yeah. What was schooling like for you, with being around such a large musical family and having like raw talent and natural talent and seeing all that sort of stuff? Were you also an academic kid, or were you one of those ones that just kind of skated through?
To be completely honest, I was always pretty smart. I mean, I was smart about, like, when you talk about academic. I loved school, actually. I loved learning. I loved reading. I loved I didn't love, like, I wasn't hardworking. I didn't have that sort of like ambitious academic.
Yeah.
I wasn't that kind of kid. I kind of like passed pass was good enough a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I loved reading and literature and music, and I loved going to school and learning things. Even in high school, where you stereotypically you're more preoccupied with girls and
Oh yeah,
whatever.
bunking and
Yeah. I was into school, but I wasn't actually ambitious about school and like wanting to get top grades and all that. I
Yeah.
just lazy. But you were talking about growing up. Sorry, man, I've lost my train of thought. What
You're
was the
right.
question mark?
It was a question was academia through school.
Oh, yeah. So, like I say, I loved literature. I loved history, anything to do with history, English. I loved it.
Yeah.
Maths, science, I to this day have very little aptitude for it
Yep.
or talent, none. But I enjoyed those things because I loved history and books and and music.
Yeah, it's all history, literature. That's all sort of wrapped up in that whole creative
Sure.
thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really be creative with numbers. I mean, accountants can, but I don't really know if.
I don't know. I
that's,
don't want to make. I won't pass any comment on that because I don't know. I'm not good enough at it to
Yeah.
even judge it. But I don't know. I won't comment on it. But yeah, my first love was reading.
Yeah,
As a child, and music. My mum's music. So I was surrounded with music, and I loved books.
Yeah.
And I didn't, of course, as a kid, know what that meant. I just loved doing it, and eventually those things sort of like coalesced because years later I found myself, because I loved writing stories as well. I've just realized that I'm a fan of music, and from quite early on, I was a fan that wanted to participate, and I still see myself.
Nice.
I still see myself as that till today, because I'm primarily just a lover of the medium of music, particularly, and I just wanted to be involved, and that just leads you into all sorts of cool situations, and I've met heaps of cool people, and I've played heaps of shows that were heaps of fun, and I had lots of life experiences from that, and but I still have that kernel of I'm a fan who wants to be involved.
Yeah.
And that's not to downplay anything I might have achieved or whatever. It's not to kind of just make it oversimplified.
We're not minimizing it.
Nah, not minimizing it at all. Just like appreciating it, actually.
Yeah.
Grateful for it.
Yeah.
I got to be, I get to continue to be a fan. Like I got into, among many other pursuits in music, I got into DJing, and that was an extension of being a fan. I didn't actually decide at some point, I want to be a DJ. Being a DJ seems cool. Like it just never occurred to me that it would be cool.
Yeah.
Like I didn't follow DJs in that. I also wasn't in that scene of that world to be influenced by it. I actually just got into it as an extension of loving music.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot, and almost everything else musical I've ever done is just from that too. Like I love that. I love hearing that guitar. I want to play guitar. Or I love like country music. I want to like pick up a slide and try and play a blues guitar. I have no idea what to do, but I just
figure it out, right?
Yeah. So fandom was big.
Yeah.
Not fandom for, as you get older, fandom for personalities gets less, and fandom for the art gets more.
Yeah.
It's normal when you're a teenager, particularly, to idolize people and groups and.
Yeah.
And I did all that. I did all that. And it was well worth it.
Yep.
It was well worth it because they drew you into that world without even knowing it.
Yeah.
They drew you into that world, and then you make your way in it however you do it. But yeah, you get less into personalities, genres, style, fashion as you get older, and you get more into the expression.
Yeah.
The art form itself, and just do it. And then you get to I'm getting on. You get to an age where you're just like, I'm still doing it. And that's a success.
Yeah, the fact that you can.
Yeah, I can do it, and I do. I make time for it. Like I prioritize it. Like everyone's got 1,000,001 reasons why they can't do something.
Yes.
And I could think of them too. But I'm just like, no, this is important. It's important that I sit down with my mate and write these songs, or that we record these parts that we're doing, or we make a video and put it on YouTube. Like not for any validation from others, just from that, the act of doing.
Yeah, and it's
awesome.
sometimes the need to just get that creative expression out.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just you're a chef, you cook, that's what you do. You're a writer, you write, that's what you do. You're whatever you do, you just do it. The all of the other stuff is it's cool, and it's like, you may have a plan and all of that, like it's all good.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that you love to do it and that you do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than loving to do something that you're not doing. You know what I mean? Like
God,
you would
yeah.
like to do it. Oh, I wish I could. I wish I had time. I wish I had money.
Yeah.
If only someone did this for me, I'll be able to do that for them. Nah.
Someone who's looking for excuses, though.
Yeah, I can't live like that.
No.
I just do it because I love it, and everything that happens from it has been awesome. I've been so blessed. Like I say, not about accolades or success or in the modern day views, subscriptions, whatever. Like there's, the formats have changed.
Yeah.
Right? But the validation is, like I was saying to you earlier, it's nice. I mean, when I say validation, I just mean acknowledgement, or people enjoy what you do. People say, hey man, that was really cool. I enjoy that. That's nice. I won't deny that. But do I need it? Not really.
No.
It's just cool.
It's your world's not going to stop if you get it or don't
and I'm not
get it.
certainly not going to be discouraged
Oh,
from doing it. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. You're hardly going to... It's, as we were talking before, your kind of musical career has been quite eclectic.
Yeah, to say the least.
And very all over the show.
Sure.
Right. So, I've normally always done hard rock or metal.
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's
I'm with you on that.
Throw the horns in the air.
Yeah, hard.
And you were talking about when you're younger, you tend to gravitate towards certain bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I did. I was very much like yourself as well. But see, I can listen to a deathcore song.
Yeah.
And then understand some of the subtleties in a Toto track.
Sure.
And just kind of a lot of different things.
And appreciate all of them.
Correct.
For what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The musical technicality and expertise that had to go into crafting that song.
Yeah. It's art. And I can appreciate, like, it happened, like, when you're like youngster, because it's such a formative time of your life, right? Especially musically.
Yeah.
Like your teenage years shape a lot, have a big impact or a big foundational sort of place. And but when you're young, and it's part of being young, you're sort of tribal with it too.
Yeah.
Like
oh yeah.
We
absolutely.
I'm old enough before internet. I had formed a lot of my musical passions long before the internet.
Yeah,
so
same.
we didn't have the influence of the online world.
Well, do you mind if I ask how old you are?
Damn, I knew you were gonna do that, bro. Yeah, I'm 49. Yesterday.
I'm 49.
Oh, look at that.
6 months ago.
Oh, bro, shot.
Yeah.
6 months ago. Sweet, you're older than me.
Yeah, I am. I'm okay with that though.
Yeah, I know, and I'm definitely okay with it.
You and I grew up in the same sort of era.
That's right. That's 6 months apart.
First off, it was the vinyl.
Yeah.
And then cassettes came out, and then dubbing.
Yep.
Now, for those people that don't know dubbing, is you had 2 cassette recorders, and you would play on one side, and then you'd record on the other side, and you'd be able to get albums off your mates.
Yeah. The way you're describing that makes me feel really old. Like you're making it sound like some sort of gramophone sort of shit. But I was there doing it too, so I know what you're talking about. But anyway, yeah. So my first, just a silly aside, my first record of my own.
Oh yeah, go on.
Was the Muppet record. I was like
the
4.
Muppet Show.
Yeah, the Muppet Show.
No, wait, the movie?
Yeah, I guess.
Wow.
Well, it was there was Muppet Show 1 and 2. I think I got 2 eventually, but I had Muppet Show 1, the 12-inch record of the songs, and I was a 4-year-old because my mum had records, so we had a record player.
Yeah, nice.
And records in the late 70s, early 80s, when the time I'm talking about, was still the normal way people listen to
Absolutely.
music. If you weren't listening to the radio, you listened to records.
Yeah.
Even tapes. I think tapes were out, but they were not that common.
No.
Then and then that was the first time my earliest memories of having my own record was the Muppet record. And then I had a few others and all of that. And then my first record I bought with my own money consciously was a tape. Because by then I was 9 or 10 by then, mid 80s. And I bought Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA tape.
Oh, what a great album. What an amazing album, man.
Yeah, sure.
Dancing in the Dark with Courtney Cox.
The same year of Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms.
Yes.
And I love those albums to this day.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, maybe I've listened to that less, but Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms,
man.
epic album. I've got that now on vinyl and whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are my early, and I bought tapes. When I got to 10 years old, I got pocket money maybe, and I could buy a tape. I mean, one every blue moon. But it was a big deal, and but that was just a different world. Like collecting music and you had to save up your money somehow, and then you went to the record store, and it was a big deal, you know. Of course, we live in a much more easy world now, and I can listen to whatever I want, whenever I want, for free. So I don't even have to leave this chair.
No,
you know?
no.
But I love those days, and I'll, you know, sometimes I have my little old man moments, which is like I miss that.
Yeah.
The passion of collecting and but anyway, I do love the tools available now, and I love the access we have. So I'm not a old purist who's like moaning about the young people. It's like no, it's awesome. But you know, I have fond memories of harder times.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm like being a bit romantic about that, because it's like it was probably actually really like crap.
Yeah. Well,
in a sense of you only could afford what you know, it was very limited.
Yeah.
But that limitation does create passion, because you're like, you know,
Oh, excuse me, that was a sneeze. It's so funny. The very first album I ever bought was the 33.5 full size. It was the Miami Vice.
I had that on tape, but oh, sorry to cut you off, bro. Yeah.
It's all right. I actually bought the record.
Soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack.
Yeah, Jan Hammer.
Yeah, I loved that album so much. And then I discovered the little 45 singles.
Right.
And I collected all of that. So Def Leppard, Hysteria.
Yeah.
That album was huge.
Okay.
I collected all of the little vinyls.
Yeah.
You know, and then we discovered tape, and the very first tape that Mum and Dad bought was Aha.
Yeah.
Hunting High and Low.
Sure.
And I was like,
I had that.
That album got thrashed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, thrashed to all tits.
Wore it out.
Yeah, the tape would stretch.
Yeah.
And I did break it at one point. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, two old men talking about tape and vinyl. Classic.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. Vinyl's made such a comeback.
Oh, bro.
I last week I went and bought I pre-ordered John Toogood's album
Right. Good.
on vinyl, because
I
I was like, man, this is going to sound amazing.
I just bought Damn Natives, Kaupapa Driven Rhymes Uplifted on vinyl. First time released on vinyl ever.
Wow.
Recently. The album's from 96.
Yeah.
And it's a stone cold New Zealand classic.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll agree, bro. But it just got released on vinyl for the first time.
Yeah.
And I doubt that they've pressed like thousands of copies, because it'll have a limited market.
So
everyone, lots of people I know have snapped it up. I bought it from Vine Street Records here.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I wasn't even in Whangarei, but I knew I was coming here this week.
Yeah.
So I messaged them I said, can you hold one? Because it got released a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was a bit worried that they will all just go really quick, because it's that kind of album for the people who are into that sort of music.
Yeah.
So I just said, can you hold one for me? I'll be there. Like, it was like 10 days ago. And luckily he was cool. And he was just like, yeah, I'll hold it for you, no worries. And then he did.
Yeah.
So I picked it up.
Shout out to Vine Street Records, man.
Yeah, man.
That's very cool.
I thought I was, support the little Whangarei record store.
Definitely.
And I didn't know about it. Is that sprung up in the last couple of years? Vine Street Records?
It's been there for a little while.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe longer than I thought. And I've been away, so
yeah.
it's not surprising.
I think I first went in about 5 years ago.
Hey.
So
cool.
It's such a funny location though.
Yeah, inside another shop.
You walk through a cake baking shop to go up some stairs, and then the space is there.
But oddly cool.
Oh, it's amazingly
It's oddly cool to do that. Like your little mezzanine, you know.
Yeah.
You go up the steps and you're like, oh, there's a room. It's like a bed. It's like not much bigger than this room.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't actually meet the guy. I felt a bit just unlucky, because I went there. He wasn't there yet. But the cake lady was there, and I said, oh, there's this record on hold for me. And she goes, she didn't know anything about where he might have put it or whatever. But luckily there was a copy on the shelf anyway.
Oh, brilliant.
So she said, oh, we'll take that one, and wherever he stashed your one,
we'll sort it out later.
So yeah. So thanks to. Do you know that guy? I don't know his name.
I've never actually properly met him.
If he sees or hears us, say thanks, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Shout out to Vine Street, man. That's very cool. So, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was a hugely formative time for music. You know, if you think back about some of the Kiwi classics, you had like what you had. Herbs, man, Sensitive to a Smile.
Yeah.
I still love that song to this day.
Yep. Front Lawn, which of course morphed into the Don McGlashan.
Mutton Birds,
and you know that Mutton Birds came. Yeah, Front Lawn was the first, and I was only really young. I was like 12, 13, whatever. Yep. Front Lawn was a thing. My first gig, I remember. I tell you a funny story, true story. When I was a kid, I don't remember my age, maybe 7, 8. I'm guessing around that time. Sweetwater, the first Sweetwaters, way back,
yes.
like
Woodville.
Not the. I don't even know. We are too little. But like we went there,
Wow.
and this is the funny part. Apart from just saying I went there, was because I was obviously a kid, so I was with adults who wanted to go there and be wasted and be hippies and whatever.
Adults.
Walk around naked.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty full on, bro. Like,
It was a different time back then.
it was way different.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was young, but old enough to see that shit. Anyway, excuse my language.
I remember. No,
yeah.
hey, swearing's fine.
Anyway, we went in the boot of the car because we were being smuggled in to not pay, I'm guessing. Yeah, so
Wow.
me and a couple other kids, and I'm sure another adult. I can't remember. It was dark. I was in a boot. But we were in the boot, and we got out of the boot in the festival, and then we proceeded to be there for a couple of days. And we were kids, so we played.
Yeah.
We saw music and we heard it because it was loud, but we weren't there for the music because we were children. But anyway, that was I think it was '83, so I would have been 6 or 7.
Can you remember was there one band in that year that really stood out for you?
No, they were all just loud bands,
Right,
like free.
yeah.
But while I might not have been paying active attention, being a kid and all that,
Yeah.
and like more just interested in playing and running around, it was still exposure to live music,
Yeah.
which bound to have had some lasting effect. Like I remember being. This is really strange, but I don't know if I've ever said this to anybody, but when I was like 10, 11, long before I played music, or I wasn't like in productions and like a music kid.
Yeah.
I was a late starter actually, but I imagined playing music on a stage, like as a sort of a, I don't know, some sort of childish fantasy.
Yep.
Like I want to play on stage, and I don't know why. It wasn't like I was taking music lessons and then could see myself then
progressing to that level. Yeah.
I had no reason
Yeah.
to be thinking I would be performing. Zero reason. But I did think I would perform on stage somehow, somewhere, with no idea of style of music or anything.
Yeah.
So, and then, going to get, and my mum was not only musical, and my uncles and aunties and that, but they were performers too. Like they would do cover bands and all sorts of different things. So, and my granddad, this is a family claim to fame perhaps. You may not believe this might sound outrageous, but my grandfather brought karaoke to this country.
What?
Can you believe that? Because you should. Tell you why.
Go on, hit me with it. I'm looking forward to this.
You can Google it.
Hit me with it.
You probably can't Google it because it all happened before. He went to Hong Kong or something in the mid '80s, and for business or whatever, I don't know, holiday probably.
Yeah.
And he experienced karaoke because over, of course, in Asia, it's old.
It's always been huge.
They've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And so and being a performer himself with a band background and music, he was also in Showboat and like musical productions.
Yeah.
He even performed in London. I'm talking long before that. And so here's this Maori guy in China in the mid '80s, middle-aged man by then, or sort of in his 40s or something.
Yeah.
Late 40s probably. And he experiences karaoke, and he's like, "Man, this is awesome. People back home gonna love this. Like, why don't he probably even thought, why don't we have this?" And then because he was an entrepreneur, my grandfather was very entrepreneurial. He wasn't just going to sit there and go, "Oh, this would be cool at home," and then leave it at that.
Oh yeah.
He starts making connections and buys some machines that he gets imported.
Oh,
and
wow.
and the first karaoke machines were like big CDs, like they were, I don't know if you ever saw them.
Oh, like laser discs?
Laser discs,
Yeah,
massive, like
yeah.
12-inch, maybe, probably
They
a
were
12-inch
huge.
CD, and thick and heavy.
Yeah.
And the machines are really butty and like industrial. And and you hook them to a TV and blah, blah, blah. So he brought over karaoke machines and started hiring them out, or like hiring himself out to run them. He had to learn how to use it. And he was already a middle-aged guy, so he wasn't like super techy. He just worked it out, and then started doing it in like pubs, because he owned pubs and that, so he sort of had an avenue to
he's already got a client base, right?
He had the avenue to put it out.
Yeah.
So he started doing it and hiring it to like functions like the sports clubs and bloody weddings and
nice.
and this is in Auckland and probably around 86, 87, I'm guessing. Yeah, and it took off slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And then other people started cottoning on,
Figuring it out, yeah.
5 years later it was everywhere, and there were other players involved. But and of course he didn't own a patent or anything.
Yeah.
He didn't it's not like he owned karaoke and
you
could
can't
control
trademark it.
He couldn't.
Can
No,
you?
he couldn't control it.
Yeah.
But he was the man. And so I watched. No, I don't watch, but it was on TV years ago, like on Māori television. There'll be like Singing with the Stars, not Singing with the Stars, Māori Oki or whatever. There's all these like like shows, karaoke shows, and then it could even say that there's a connection to the not the X Factor, but this type of thing,
Yeah.
where you sing to backing tracks and you can be
Oh, like dancing with
I don't know.
Stars in Their Eyes.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, of course, those are international brands, which they're from all over the show. But yeah. So that's there. My family karaoke. There's a connection.
So you finish school. You decide that you're going to head out into the big wide world. What do you do? Where do you go?
Yeah, so I spent a year in Australia. I actually left school before I'd finished school, and I spent a year just working in factories and having fun and just being young, and didn't have any big ideas. But then I decided in '94, I was 18 in '94, and I thought, I'm going to go to Australia and have a look around and just
Nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
man.
went there, and I ended up making a good friend that I've got till this day since then. But also, I was in Sydney and I was having fun, and then I ended up I don't know how it happened. I think there was an open day at a audio engineering school. No, it was a studio. It was a working studio. In fact,
Oh, wow.
it was a very prominent Sydney recording studio,
Yeah.
which escapes. It pains me, but the name of it escapes me right now. But it was, lots of big artists had recorded there, and
Yeah.
it was, it was a studio for hire. And that studio decided to run an audio engineering
Oh,
introduction
wow.
course. And I went to the open day of it, which was just for them to talk about it,
Yeah.
show us the gear, and I had no great ambitions about this. I was just going along for something to
Yeah.
do, probably on the day.
Yeah.
But I sort of thought, hey, and I by now I'm already a big music fan. I'd started tutoing on instruments and making out I was going to be a musician, but without any direction. Yeah, so I get to Sydney and I joined this audio engineering course, and it was actually a full-time one. So it was like for 9 months or whatever it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I jumped in there, and it was not only the engineering that we were learning, but that put me in proximity to musicians and
Yeah.
tutors who were active engineers who were doing recording sessions
Yeah.
and mixing gigs, and so I would follow them around,
what-
and it was awesome.
Who
Yeah.
would have been recording in '94? Can you remember any bands?
Not big names that you would know. Like, they were mostly indie bands that, like, my exposure directly was mostly to grassroots.
Right.
level.
Okay. Yep.
But there was some really cool music in Sydney at the time, like Skunk Hour, Trout Fishing for Quebec. There were bands from Melbourne that would come up, like Magic Dirt and all that. Like, there was
I've
good.
heard of Magic Dirt.
Yeah, Magic Dirt are from
Yeah, wow.
Geelong, actually. I think
Yeah.
they're from Geelong, but they became much bigger after I knew about them. But I'd go and see shows, and I would sometimes be the assistant engineer in these.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there was a man called Colin, a Pommy guy, a middle-aged guy who had lots of years already of experience, both in studio and get live.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of followed him around a lot to help him out and learn.
Wow.
And I did it, and it was the days too before Pro Tools and that. This is mid '90s, so it's still analog tape, like
Yeah.
24-inch tape.
Yep. Still
So-
going to be tied on a click track.
Yeah,
And
and he was,
yep, snipping everything up.
cutting tape.
Yeah, man.
To editing, cutting, literally.
Yeah.
He was good at that. He was an old school pro.
Yeah,
So
far
I'd be lying to say I learned everything from him, because I was young, and because I wasn't super focused on that as a career, I was more just enjoying learning a bit. And
Yeah.
the environment and the places.
Yeah,
it took
yeah,
me.
yeah. Like, a bit here, bit there, bit there. And it's
Yeah.
just the overall experience and
Exactly.
the vibe, right?
I was all about that overall experience.
Yeah.
And I'm 18 and I'm in Sydney and I'm free and young and whatever.
Yeah.
So, I could have, should have, would have learned all sorts of more, but I didn't really. That's the truth.
Yeah.
But I had a great experience. And again, it put me in proximity to music and
Yeah,
musicians.
yeah.
And I used to watch musicians recording songs and through the glass, because I was
Yep.
in the, and then he'd say, run out and change that mic and change the cable. It's a shitty cable, whatever. And I'd just be the gopher. I was the
Yeah.
bum boy. And it was awesome. I loved it. And so I came back to New Zealand. That was just a year in Sydney.
Yeah.
I came back, and then I went
Why did you come back, though?
why did I come back? Probably a mixture of brokenness and, I don't know. I ran out of wind, maybe.
Right, okay,
ran out of money, ran out of wind, ran out of steam.
Yeah.
And came home. And so then, but I wanted to continue this experience of being
Yeah.
around music, because I wasn't not yet a musician.
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
still just a wannabe,
Yeah.
who was loved to be around it and going to gigs with my mates, both international gigs. And, we went to all the gigs in Town Hall and all that, bro, like Pantera, I've seen all of them, like, Pearl Jam at Super Top, but Town Hall used to have great gigs, Violent Femmes and Therapy, and Body Count. I see them twice there. Lots of anyway.
Town Hall was an amazing
So
venue, man.
Yeah, we were fans. Biohazard and Slayer played and blah blah blah. But when I came back, I was getting to from Sydney end of '94. I went and assisted engineering because I wanted to continue this, be a wannabe engineer.
Yeah.
So I went to Revolver Studio because they used to be in Parr Road and Royal Oak.
Wait, Revolver.
And
Revolver,
yeah.
Wow.
They had an A and a B studio. The A studio is where like Neil Finn and all of them recorded.
Yeah.
And she, maybe not Shehad.
Shehad did York Street.
Yeah, they were York Street. So Revolver was up there with York Street and sense of quality and equipment. They had or Neve, or they had all the gears.
Yeah.
And they were well known. And the B studio, I was mostly connected with the B studio. And the B studio was awesome because they were doing this program/project of local band compilation making. So there was this idea that so every week I would go there maybe 1 or 2 nights a week. Generally it was after hours because, bands are at work during the day.
Yeah.
So they'd come in the evening and they would record their songs for this compilation that may or may not have materialized. I don't remember, but
wow,
all these local bands would come in and it was awesome. And I used to meet them and I'd marvel at them and be jealous that I wasn't in a band like them. It was it was a really great time, and that was probably all up just a few months that I was doing that, tail end of '94.
Yeah, nice.
And then I moved to Pauanui of all places the next year and got a job in a hotel and a resort, and that's when I really bought a guitar and an amp, and I really started to okay, I'm going to play music,
Yeah,
I've
nice.
had all of these little tutu experiences mixed with gig going, mixed with being around studios, and it's time for me to, and by then I'm 19, so I'm not back then I considered myself young, but nowadays, kids are getting in super young and blowing up and burning out at 18. So it's sort of like a different world now, but then 19 was still young.
Yeah, man.
I was still a kid. So I got into music and I was in Pauanui for a year. I learned to play guitar and I learned to play by ear, and I got, for a bedroom guitarist, I got pretty good, I thought.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Wellington the next year, and that's when I formed a band with a guy I met and started to have my first formative real experiences.
Oh, wow.
Starting with party gigs.
Yeah.
Turning into small bar gigs or all ages hall gigs.
Yeah.
And being around and being in Wellington in 96, 7, 8, which is the years I lived there, was a really awesome time for local music. Already the likes of Shehad and Head Like a Hole were iconic.
They're
were big.
huge, yeah.
But they came from that.
Yep.
They were just a few years earlier, so they would already.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of great local bands of which most people will never know about.
Nah.
And they didn't become household names by any means, but a great scene. And also the venues were good, and it was really cool, and it was a great time, and I my first kid band highlight was to support Shehad in an orientation show, and also come to Auckland and play an orientation show.
Was that on the
that was really cool.
Killjoy album?
Would have been Fish album.
Fish
actually.
album.
It was Fish by
Man.
then.
Yeah.
They were on Fish, and it was an epic. And we used their gear. We were just little bloody wannabes.
Yeah.
And to play with Shehad and use their gear purely because it was more convenient for them that we used their gear instead of lugging it on and off.
Yeah.
And to be in a green room with those guys and then watch their set and really just marvel. And it was inspiring. And I've seen lots and lots of bands since, but that was to be playing with them, because I'd already seen lots of gigs, but to actually be part of that gig, and that felt really real. Wow, we made it, and so that was fun. I came back to Auckland in the late '90s. I became a dad and had a life, and I decided to study, and I was just struggling with life as you do when you're young, but then got carried on with music and just kept going, Kept going.
Nice.
And then in different genres, I joined a band called D.W. Brown, which is this rootsy Latin funk kind of music.
Yeah.
And that was, I'd switched to bass, and I was enjoying that, and I joined the band, and we did heaps of stuff. We did national tours, and we did Velvet and deep hard and funky kind of parties, like dance scene, as well as our own residency at St. Anu in Ponsonby. We played every Friday, and that playing a residency, playing live constantly, was actually a really good formative thing too, as opposed to playing a gig every now and then.
Live is where it's at, man.
And to play a lot of musicians, I think, say this, one gig is worth 20 rehearsals.
Yeah.
So if you can play every night for 3 weeks, New Zealand's small, so it's not like we can go on these
You can't
hella
go on
runs,
massive tours. No.
Even the big bands can't do that. So like, but if you can play, 6 gigs in a month in New Zealand and not be a big band, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate to be in a situation like that, and that I got a lot of live experience. I met people, I had fun, or whatever, and played every hole in the wall in New Zealand. Played every dump. I've been in all of them and loved it. I have fond memories of all of it. And then around 02, definitely by 03, I'd moved towards hip hop and production and DJing and scratching and turntablism, and I got deeply into that world because I'd been inspired by something I'd heard. I'd loved hip hop music already as a fan ever since Public Enemy and all of that, but so I got into turntablism, and I never got into the battle scene. I was never I was never super good, but I was good enough that I could I DJ'd a lot, and I scratched on the records that we made, and and I loved it, and I hip hop, I still to this day love hip hop. It's still I've never been a genre
elitist
devotee where it's like, that's what I'm into, that, and everyone else is the enemy.
I wish I could say otherwise.
I've had moments of it, like I was a rock kid in high school, like 6th, 7th form. I never did 7th form. What am I talking about?
5th and 6th form.
5th, 6th form. The end of school. I was a rock dude. It was the grunge era. I was, I was plaid shirts and long hair and and a flimsy goatee, that you could wash off with a hot flannel.
But, with the Doc Martens.
All that.
And
did
the
all that.
Jeans. I did that too.
And that was So maybe I got tribal in that phase. But I never stopped liking hip hop and whatever I wanted to like. There was no guilty pleasures. I just like whatever I want. And and I'm still like that. But anyway, I got into hip hop and went and that, it was weird. I sort of I got into it because I liked the music, but I didn't because I'd come from the band scene. I wasn't coming from a hip hop circle of people. I didn't know any rappers. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything even about what I was doing. I was just faking it, And then, but it got into, and then me and a guy made some demos in my bedroom in Mangere Bridge in Auckland in 03. It was 03. We made these demos, and that was still 03 was still like there were record labels and there was indie labels and there was major. There was still this concept that people might get signed.
Getting signed.
Those days are long gone. But that time that was still a reality, and we didn't care. Like we weren't like, we're gonna make it. We made some demos, like I think 2 or 3 songs. We put them on, burnt them on a CD, and I posted them off to some labels and didn't care what happened. Like I was just like, but then we had 3 labels get back real quickly.
Oh, wow.
Like indie labels. One was 833 Records.
Okay.
One was Capitol Recordings, which we ended up making Capital, a deal with. And I forget the other one. Might have just been not even a label. It might have been a radio station or something. I don't know who it was. But we got some interest.
Yeah, nice.
And it was like, I was shocked because I was like, well, they don't actually realize I'm bullshitting here. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I made these beats on this little machine that I like making out. I know what I do, but I don't know what I'm doing. Literally, like I'm just faking it till I make it. And then, but they were like, these are really, really good. And so we ended up just like following our noses on it. Like, oh well, if you think it's good, then so do we.
Yeah.
And so we went along, and then we I mean, we liked it. It wasn't like we thought it was crap and then someone else told us otherwise. It was more that people wanted to put it out.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, what?
Yeah,
like, okay,
you guys,
sweet.
Yeah, you guys like what we do?
Yeah. You like more than just us like it, So anyway, we did this deal with this label called Capitol Recordings based in Wellington. We were in Auckland. We were the first, maybe even only artists that they signed outside of Wellington, because they had done Jet Jaguar, Flash Harry, which is Barnaby
Weir.
Barnaby Weir. He had a
Fly
project,
My Pretties.
Yep, all that.
Yep.
He had a project called Flash Harry, and they had done some records with him. They did. I'm forgetting some of the other artists. They're like mostly like in the dance or indie vein. Like it was an independent record label, so we're not talking pop music.
No,
it was like unusual music. So we were the first ones out that were hip hop, and the first ones outside of Wellington. And so they signed this deal with us to make an album and a series of singles. So because in those days you still doing a single, and then you were like building to this album. It was like very old school compared to now. So we made 2 vinyl records. We had a single called Jump Up, that was on vinyl. We played Top of the Pops, and then we played the rounds. Like we did all these things that like promotional things, because Capitol was actually really well run for a small label.
Yeah.
They had a vision. They had networks, because Jason, I forget his surname. He's passed away sadly just quite recently, but Clinton Smiley was his DJ name in Wellington. He was a guy about town. He knew everybody, and he had the connections. And him and Brent Strathdee-Pehi had started that label. So long story short, he lined up all these promotional activities for us.
Nice.
And we played Top of the Pops, and we played Sports Cafe. When we played Sports Cafe, because what happened, Sports Cafe used to have this process where every week a different band or artist or singer would come on and do like interludes.
Yep.
You're not actually featured so much.
You kind of do like bits before
someone,
the break.
Welcome,
or after
Jonah
the break.
Lomu.
Yeah.
You know, and you perform for like 20 seconds, if that.
Yeah.
And then shut up. And you know, next guest and then at the end of the show, you would actually get to perform a song. And the Sports Cafe dancers, you know, the chicks, they would dance to whatever the music was. I mean, they had to look like they liked it, you know. But anyway,
they did.
We did it. We did it once, like everyone just did it once, kind of thing, and then you know that was it. And then they asked us back, a third time, and then someone said to Capitol Recordings, probably, who were sort of like de facto managers, because we were signed to them.
Yeah.
So they had said, "Oh, we want those guys to actually just be the resident musicians."
Wow.
Those guys suits what we do. It probably works efficiently for them too, because it's just two guys.
Yep.
Like it's logistically practical.
Yep. And you're not having to get in all these new
bands
temperamental artists all the time.
And deal with different people every week.
These dudes, they're cool. Let's just stick with them.
Yep. And the music works, and they look, you know, I don't know if we look cool, but we
look the part.
We look the part, whatever.
Yeah.
So we did it, and the next season we were just the resident musicians. So every week, and that was a live Sports Cafe was a live show.
That was.
So we had to go to queues, and that there was no mucking up, you know. You had to be ready to roll on the queue because it was live. So we did that the next season. We had a radio show at the same time on Base FM every week. We used to actually, I think it was every Wednesday, Sports Cafe. So we used to have our radio show on Base FM. Then we would go to St James Theatre in Auckland and do Sports Cafe.
Man.
That was the venue when we were doing it. So I had all these great experiences. I was DJing all the time. Making a semi-living from DJing, actually, a club DJing.
Yeah.
I don't have the energy for it these days. I'm too old.
It's a hard life.
You know, I'm a day person, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, so hip hop, I went hard, and then around 07, it would have been 07. We had already put our album out. We had sort of done our run. You know, things have their lifespan.
They do, yeah.
Me and my mate had a great run, and we had fun, and we were good mates, and we didn't break up or like fall out. We just ran out.
Yeah,
and,
it ran its course.
Yeah, it ran its course. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And I was also itching to get back into live music again, like live playing.
Like performing.
Instruments, bands,
yeah.
live music. And not because I didn't like hip-hop and all that, I loved it. But I just had the itch.
Yeah.
So I formed a band which we called Hangman, and we wrote music, and we did Red Bull live sessions. We did an album. We toured it. We actually got famously, I'm telling you it's famous because now I'm telling you, but we got ripped off, man. We got ripped off big time. It really was. It was a big learning experience for myself and my bandmates, I guess, in the industry. Like, this was the MySpace days, right? So,
I know. So them.
MySpace was big. People were putting their music online. It was becoming accessible.
We were part of that era as well.
Yeah, but it became, I didn't realize, but it was actually like a Wild West as well, because I'll tell you what happened. I started fielding, because I was running the band MySpace page.
Yeah.
So I started getting these messages going, man, bro, yeah, your music's mean, bro. Like, we were like, your band's awesome. We saw you on the motocross DVD, blah, awesome, man. And I'm thinking, my first thought was, they've got the wrong Hangman.
Yeah,
there's
motocross
probably
DVD.
some other, what? Like, and then, but I got more and more like messages, and I was like, what's going on here? So I had to ask someone who's giving me a compliment, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then they said, the Freerider MX Motocross has a DVD and it's awesome. And I was like, and your music's on it. And I was like, nah, you got it wrong. But anyway, I did a bit of homework, a bit of Google, and lo and behold, Freerider MX, which is, I don't know if they're still around, they're an Australian-based Freerider community glossy magazine, like it's a real deal magazine, and they had done a New Zealand tour of professional motocross, whatever, jumper riders, and they had filmed a DVD for this, like, you know how magazines in the days would give away a DVD. Oh,
you get a CD or a DVD, the little free one.
Bonus disc.
Yeah.
And it was the New Zealand tour bonus disc DVD.
Oh, my God.
And guess who provided the whole soundtrack?
No.
Yep.
with no clearance.
Zero. Not even a courtesy.
Yeah.
Not even tell me you're going to rip me off. You
Yeah.
know, like it was just, they just put all of our music and named us. It wasn't like they were trying to hide it as something else.
Yeah.
It was like Hangman and blah, blah. So but it already happened. It had happened. It was like the cat was out the bag. I went down to my local magazine store because I'm not into freestyle motocross, so I wasn't never going to find it organically.
Yeah, you're not going to go down to the mag store and go, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah. It's not the magazine.
It's my music.
Exactly. It's not the store's fault. They got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I discovered that they had actually used. And my first thought when I clicked, they have taken our music, is that it's a snippet. You know, there might be 30 seconds and they didn't ask us. And that would have been bad enough.
Yeah.
But no. It was 4 whole songs.
Wow.
It was like the whole soundtrack to the whole DVD, which was, a 20-minute DVD or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a movie. So I was appalled and kind of, but weirdly flattered.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the music they could have stolen, they stole mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's weird. I should be angry legally.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of flattered that they thought our music suited what they were doing.
definitely.
So I wasn't super duper emotionally angry. I was just more like, hey, can they do that? Like, what?
Yeah.
So I decided I have to do due diligence and find out what's going on. So I went and booked a session. Do you remember Chris Hockard?
Yes.
He was New Zealand's like premier entertainment lawyer.
Yeah.
And he used to have a show on BFM. I only knew about him because on BFM he had like a weekly Q&A slot on the radio, and you could ring in. And so I didn't want to just ring in. So I booked a session with him.
Yeah.
And I went in and I sat down with him in his office and I said, well, this has happened, and told him the story. And he hummed and hawed, and he pretty quickly they said, well, it's a clear breach of copyright. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like it's not, they stole your music and I can launch a suit and I can do this and that. And probably I can't remember the figures he threw around. It might have been 10, 20 grand or whatever. I don't know. I'm pulling that number out of the sky. But he said, I can. But he needed 2 or 3 grand up front from my end for his legal fees,
retainer fees.
And I just didn't have it.
Nah.
I just didn't have it. And it was just like, and mixed with that feeling of like, it's already done. And now, what am I going to do? A dude in a bedroom in Auckland's going to like sue a big magazine, probably owned by bloody Rupert Murdoch or something. Behind the, like what? All I'm going to do is create my own headache with money I don't have.
Yeah.
And potentially make an enemy, not a friend. So I was trying to make a positive out of it. That's the long and short of it, I should say. And I decided I'll get back in touch with that magazine. Oh, by the way, the magazine's response was when I messaged them, because I find them online. They've got a big website, fancy. And I message them and I say, "You've done this. This is what you've done. This is I'm who I am, and that's what you did."
Yeah.
Oh, really? The music supervisor didn't ask you, like with a question mark? It's like, I didn't know anything.
Nah.
And so they just played ignorant.
Yeah.
So I ended up trying to salvage something out of it, and I said, well, the least you buggers can do is do a profile on us in the next issue.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I want a full page colour interview photo.
Yeah.
Not because I suddenly had big ideas that the freestyle motocross scene is gonna make us crack it. But it was a desperate attempt at something. You owe me that.
Yeah.
You owe us that. And they did it. To their credit.
Yeah.
The next issue, whatever, a couple of months later, had the full spread, and it ultimately meant little. It ultimately meant little to nothing, because it wasn't like I say, it wasn't as if that's going to crack us. It was, but it was they came to the party and scratched our backs, to some extent. So it was the big lesson was not that music and that magazine. It was that this industry, all sorts can happen, especially in the digital world. Maybe now it's a bit better and it's more. I don't know. I don't care as much anymore either.
Welcome to AI.
Oh, exactly. Things get more open-ended.
Yeah,
maybe that's the term. But anyway, it's all. I don't have bad feelings about it. Like I didn't cry about it. It was more, oh well, it happened. Again, I just rested on the idea that our music was good enough that they used it. They saw it as appropriate, and then we were influenced a bit by that, maybe in the sense that we thought, well, our music does suit extreme sport then, probably.
Yeah.
Snowboarding, skating, motorcycles.
Yeah,
it was
freestyle
like,
motocrossing,
and we sort of we thought, well, maybe that will be a good target market, started getting a bit industry-like about it. it's just, yeah, it was a good learning curve. Yeah, yeah.
So you do all this work.
Yep.
You've generated the following. Well, you do.
Give or take.
Give or take, you know.
Yeah, sure.
You might have hit X Games. But where are you at now?
Okay, good. Yeah, so
Because you're at a really unique part of your life.
True. That's true, actually. You put it that way. So where I'm at right now, okay, I'll just jump right to now. Like, myself and a good friend, Brent Strathdee-Pehi, we've created a project called New Loser. And New Loser is relatively new. It's this year. Like, we've known each other a few years, but I was in East Timor for a while, so we didn't have much to do with each other, but we've known of each other for a few years. So we started this project, genreless kind of, we're not tethered to any scene or genre or stylistically, and it's really quite freeing. But we do have certain things in common, like we have a real love of brutal hard rock, like alternative metal. Yeah, nice. We have those in common, and other things. Yeah. Like, we also like new wave music and good pop music. Yeah. And hip hop to a lesser extent. Brett's got I love the hip hop probably more, to be fair, than him. But he still can rap all of Cypress Hill Temple of Boom album. Wow. So he grew up obviously with some hip hop phases of his life. So that's cool. But we just more importantly, we have a deep passion for like expressive, hard hitting, quirky music. Like, we love Faith No More and Bungle and like just not it's not, and you won't like every song because they're so diverse that you're like, you've got your tastes. But I love, whether I like a song or not from a band like Faith No More, I love how diverse they are and how they can just do everything they want to do. And they haven't had, it's quite funny, I was only recognizing this the other day to zone in on Faith No More a little bit, but like, they only really had one big hit, which was Epic. They had minor hits here and there. Sometimes they're covers, like Easy by the Commodores. Like, they did.
You had the Real Thing album, which produced Epic, which was huge. Surprise You're Dead. And there was another one on there as well. Then you had Angel Dust.
And don't get me wrong, they've had lots of great music. They have. Sometimes like minor hits, but as far as monster hits, it's really just Epic. It's really just Epic. And Epic is what it is. And that was 1990. I was like 15 when that came out. So my point is, that's one band among many that we have a great love of, and the diversity is inspiring in that sense. So we just decided, hey, let's make some music and have fun with it, not have any ambition about it. It's a project more than a band, because we're not a drummer, bass player, and a keyboardist and vocal. We're not. That's not what it is. It's a project, so we can collaborate first with each other, but also with whoever we choose to. And we've made 5 tracks so far that we've finished this year and put available online for people that we've shared.
Where can people find it online?
Yeah, well, it's relatively recent that we've finished them up and completed them. So SoundCloud, New Loser. If you search New Loser on SoundCloud, you'll probably should find us.
Going to do that while we speak.
Yeah, and we collab. 2 of the 5 songs are collaborations with other vocalists. So and Brett's based in Paihia. I'm based when I'm in New Zealand at the moment, down in Te Puru and near Thames. So we're doing a lot of remote collaboration. We just finished 3 days together to make music together physically, which we just take the opportunities when we can. And we're just loving making music and hard hitting music. Like some our songs too, like not by design, they're kind of like we just follow our noses, and sometimes within the same track it'll take a massive left turn. And turn like
that's so exciting. It's exciting. It's very Faith No More.
And
Bungle. It's
funny you should say that, because we're aware of that, but we have. And while I just finished saying that we are inspired by bands like that, we haven't. We're not chasing Faith No More,
and you're not
Bungle.
It's not intentional, right? It's just how it works out.
It's just what we have in common with those bands, if anything, is just the love of doing what you want. And there's no rules. There's no, if we like in our first set of 5 songs that we've finished, we have in 5 songs only. There's a reggae. You would call it it's actually a funny reggae song. It's like a Weezer meets Gorillaz meets the Verlaines, like Dunedin sound, like what? It's chew that up. Yeah, and that's one song.
So you said the Verlaines. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what the
Yeah,
hell
that
is this
Dunedin
mash?
sort of singing.
Yeah.
But anyway, and we got a punk song, like all out thrashy punk song called "Thank You Card for Slaves." We got a song called "Dance of the Saved," which is a collaboration with Steve Toffer, a beautiful songwriter, like lyricist, and just beautiful voice, like an R&B almost style
Yeah,
singer.
nice,
But
man.
he's collaborating on the sort of proggy, toolish
Oh, yeah,
kind of music, and and then search through this Rubble Sun is a song that we wrote. I do the vocals. It's like someone called it garage 9 Inch Nails. Imagine a rugged, rough and raw 9 Inch Nails kind of like. These are just reference points. They're not deliberate, but yeah. So we just made these 5 tracks, and like within 5 tracks, it goes all over it runs the gamut. Like it's all over,
man.
And we're really proud of that. And then we've just not finished, but just in the last few days, put together 2 new songs.
Oh, wow.
And one of them is like indie dance pop house. Like, can you even say all that in one sentence, in one song?
Sure,
but
why
it is.
not?
But it is.
Yeah.
And then the other song that we're working on simultaneously is like this grinding, brutally killing joke. Early Shihad.
Oh, yes.
Like brutal, like
Industrial
and
as.
industrial without being computer based.
Without mechanical.
It's not mechanical, but it's organic, but got that feel.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and they're and we're loving both of those equally.
Yeah.
You know, we sort of crack ourselves up. Like 1 minute we're dancing to this house song that we're creating, and then the next minute we're like thrashing hard because it's like this brutal, crushing guitar. So it's like, you know, and just I love that, you know, like, and we just want to express ourselves and have fun.
Yeah.
And being from Northland, not that it's significant geographically that we're from Northland, but it is nice to like in our communities that we come from up here, you know, be it Paihia, Kaiko Hill, Whangarei, whatever. There's, you know, actually I'll talk about Whangarei in a second more, because I think there's this awesome creative swell happening here that I've been sort of observing
definitely
a bit distantly at the moment because I haven't been around, but that's but as far as rural Northland, you know, small town Northland, Paihia, you know, there's a lot of music. Like Northland is full of talent, and performers and singers, and
huge amount of talent here,
you know, but when it comes to what we do, it's a bit few and far between. Although now to come to Whangarei, I'm again, you can correct me, but I'm seeing like lots of cool swell of original things and events in 166, and you got Wave Pig, and you know Wave Pig's been around for a while.
They've been around for ages.
Yeah.
They're an iconic.
They're
punk
iconic
band,
local, but they now are not alone. From what I can see,
no, not at all.
There's some really cool things going on. My finger's not deeply on the pulse of it, so I can't talk shop about it that easily, but I'm observing at the very least.
You're right on the money, man.
And mixing with what I'm noticing in the creative community of fringe and folk. What do you call it?
There's the folk
pop up, folk festival, whatever it's called, fringe festival,
Fritterfest as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I was here earlier in the year, the Art Beat, and Art Beat. I saw this awesome band, Mermaid. They're like this. They were dressed in like army, like old colonial army suits, and they had like big drums. It was like this weird, mermaid bait or something. They were the coolest thing I'd seen out of the blue for a while. And I think they're from here, and they were playing like they can move around like they're a mobile band. Like there's like it's an ensemble, you might say. It's like 7 or 10 people. Yeah. And they're like playing like tubas and.
Oh, wow.
It's bizarre. It's like, it's not pop music. I mean, that's for sure. But groovy and funky. And they were at Artbeat walking around playing. And I saw them down at Hihioa Cultural Centre.
Yeah. Well, producer Andrew and I, we saw them there.
Colonial soldier suits or something. They looked out of it.
They were awesome, man.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Good.
We saw them.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal.
And that's... It doesn't even matter if we like that sort of music. The fact that it's there is enough. I'm just like, that's what a creative community, or a community with creative types, has everything. And it has metal, and it has pop, and it has rock, and it has rap. It has everything. It has everything. And and I'm proud of. I'm oddly proud of that. While I don't call myself a Whangarei native, hard, like I'm not born and raised, my connection to Northland and the community of people that I am connected to, you know, I'm just like, that's encouraging. It's awesome. It's like,
absolutely it is.
And you know, the bands I saw a couple of years ago, I haven't heard of them for a while, but I'm guessing they're still around. I was at Butter Factory. I think I was DJing at a gig, actually, and this band played, who I'd heard of, and then I saw them play, and I was pretty impressed. Otium?
Yes.
Otium?
Yeah, no, Otium. I know Otium. Yeah.
They were really good at what they were doing.
Yeah.
Admittedly, it wasn't actually my cup of tea, but really good at what they were doing, and I respect that. You know, if people are doing their thing, doing it well, and having fun and being creative, I'm just all for that. Like,
nice,
I don't
man.
need to even like it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be a fan of everything. But I am a fan of people doing their thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's more important to me than, you know, whether, you know, because people are going to have opinion about everything anyway.
Of course.
So, you know, it doesn't matter. I can put all my heart and soul into something, and someone will go, oh, that's crap. You know, and that's fine.
Sure, that's your opinion.
It's
You're
not for
entitled to
everyone.
it. Yeah.
You know, and it's all good. I don't feel discouraged.
Yeah.
You know, it's nicer when people like it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest.
It's always a bonus.
It's nicer, but again, the act of doing, sharing, creating, performing, it's so good. And New Zealand, we have a deep legacy of that. You know,
we
like
do.
Like New Zealand is a creative place. Like there's so many iconic things that go right back. So we're just continuing a tradition.
We are.
You know, it's neat to see. It's encouraging to see Northland pulling its weight in that sense too.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like we so often traditionally have looked to Auckland, Christchurch, Dunedin, whatever for the Wellington. You know, they're the biggest cities, and that's
the four big centres, right?
Yeah, so that's a bit of a no-brainer for that reason.
Yeah.
They're just big, but. You know, there are creative, like, you know, I'm just thinking off the top now, like Jacob from Gisborne? No, they're from Hastings.
From Napier. Yeah.
So, you know, and they might not be as big, they're not as big as some other names, but they're awesome, you know, like
unreal.
Unreal, like another world sort of music.
Yeah, it is.
And so regional, my point might be this, regional New Zealand has a lot to offer.
It does.
And it doesn't have the opportunity as easily, or doesn't have the numbers to create attention as easily. Like, you could be toiling away in Whangarei or in Kaitaia or in Hokianga for that matter. You know, and you might be making some world-class shit, you know. But it's harder to get noticed. And in this day, and it's weird, this era we're in now. And I mean, I'm lucky enough to be older but young enough to be a part of it still, you know. Is that you sort of go, while we all have access now, and we have done for some years now with the growth of the internet and different mediums, but while we've all got access, it dilutes the ability to get noticed.
Yes.
Because in the old days, like, there was the gatekeepers called record labels and radio programmers. They were the gatekeepers, and they told the public what they could hear.
The tastemakers.
And so everybody scrambled around trying to be chosen to be a part of, for the gatekeeper to let you in. Gatekeeper to let you in. And so those barriers got all dropped, which is awesome, that a kid in his bedroom and you know, in Dargaville can make something that gets heard in Europe.
He can be a hit.
He could, and so the pluses are big.
Yeah.
But the minuses are that you also have taken away all of the filters that give focus to things.
Yeah.
It's now just everyone is whatever they want to be,
and anyone can be a star.
Yeah, so it's harder to be seen through the noise.
Yeah.
And if you really want to, I mean, I'm not in a place in my life that I care. But if I was 30 years younger, I might be. And I might be like, I'm going to crack it. I want to make a living. I want to, you know, be a star or whatever. Good. I mean, it's harder. It's harder, actually.
A lot harder.
While the access is easier, the chance... And of course, then there's the economics, nuts and bolts of the music game. There isn't it doesn't generate the money in the same way that there was once money for artists to make records.
Yeah.
And like, if you go right back, long before even my time, like in the 70s and 80s and even earlier, like, artists would get signed for 5 album deals because the record company understood that they wouldn't make a great album probably till the 3rd or 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
They were allowed to develop. Like, we'll sign you up. You just learn, you know, you've got enough talent, obviously, for us to take a gamble.
Yeah.
We believe that you'll be great. And they would sign even 10 album deals. Sometimes they were ridiculous, and they ended up being crosses for the artist to bear. It wasn't always pretty, but there was this concept that artists will develop and they'll become.
That's
they'll
what
grow
A&R,
into.
that's what A&R people were for.
Exactly.
I got a funny story to tell you.
Yeah.
So, interesting during that transition from like physical media through to digital. record companies are still around, right? And they have these horrific things called 360 deals.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Which is where a record company will also take a percentage of the merch that's sold.
And the gigs and everything.
Gigs and live shows and all that.
Yep.
In long-form record contracts, there would always be things like a breakage fee. So when LPs or CDs were getting shipped to record stores, sometimes there might be, like a CD case might be broken or a vinyl might be broken, and all of that cost would be built into the artist's contract.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
When they moved into digital,
Yeah.
they were still charging a breakage fee on digital sales.
Oh, how ridiculous.
How gross is that?
I'm not surprised.
Neither am I.
Weirdly. As ridiculous as that is, I'm not that surprised. Yeah, 360s. I don't know the nuts and bolts of them, so but they seem all encompassing. Well, they are, right? That's the point.
They are. Yep. So
Although,
they'll take fees from YouTube plays. They'll take fees from Spotify.
Anything.
The whole lot. If a musician can think of a revenue stream, a record company's going to be like, "We'll take our 20%, please and thank you."
But I tell you what, like if you're a young artist, especially if you're being, you're at the beginning of your journey, and then some record company comes along and says, "Hey, we've got X amount of budget for you to do your thing. This is the cost. We'll take a piece of everything." And that because artists are typically have nothing.
Yeah.
They start with nothing, most artists, whether they're local or international or, eventually. So it's tempting to get that, to take that hand up.
Yep.
And then, and famously throughout the history of music in New Zealand and abroad, overseas, artists have not been savvy in business. Artists are artists; they're not business people. Whereas to give credit to the modern day, it's kind of like forced everyone to be an artist. Can't just be an artist now.
No,
a
you've
rapper
got to be
can't
a
just be a
businessman.
rapper. A drummer can't just be a drummer. You've got to like have a hand on media, social media, marketing. Management, accounting. I mean, it's just if you want to be an independent artist, you're doing all of that, or someone's doing it with you for you. You're doing it as a team. You're doing it with a partner or whatever. So it forced everyone to get wise. Yeah. But back in the old days, it was like, I'll just be the talent. Yeah. And you guys do all that. Yeah. And then that was ripe for exploitation. Well, but but at the same time, it gave us all the great music and it set people up to have great careers. The smart ones put money away and did well long term. Yeah. Many didn't. No. Many got to the end and it was pretty tragic.
I'm as broke as when I started.
Yeah. Well, there's a classic. What is it? I started off with nothing, and luckily I've still got most of it left. Yeah. I thought that was a good one. That was a C6 Steve album title, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, there's also, it's a different world. And it's exciting. Like wherever there's question marks, there's opportunity. Yeah, definitely. And so I don't want to be the old man shaking his fist at the clouds about the new...
Back in my day.
Yeah, it was so much better and all these kids don't know what they're doing. It's more like just, the world's changed. Yes. As it had from each generation to generation. It wasn't that, although it is fair to say that the internet is a massive change. Like it's not smooth and incremental. Yeah.
It's not like massive. It's not like vinyl to cassette.
No. It's the whole world just went upside down. Yeah. And of course in that turmoil it was chaos. Yeah. And in my little world, in my little corner of the musical world, things like being ripped off by a magazine is just small. Yeah. I mean there would have been way worse stories than mine. So absolutely. So I've experienced part of that turmoil, but I'm really blessed to have been able to just make music, enjoy it, be creative, play shows, and continue to do it at my age and with some, I like to feel sense of vitality and excitement about it. Like I'm excited about New Loser and the music we're making now. Yeah. If that translates to 5 people, 500, 5 people, 10 people, 100 people, it doesn't matter to me. It's cool. I appreciate it. I appreciate any interest, but I've already won. Yeah. I've already won.
Well, you won because you put it out the way you wanted to. Exactly. Anything else is a bonus.
Yeah, I even say like hypothetically, because I don't actually remember somebody saying this to me like this, but sometimes you get the sense of it happened to me more years ago, but younger, and they'd say, "Have you, how are you going? Like, how's your music going?" Yeah. And they were implying sometimes in that question not about music, they're talking about career.
Yeah.
Are you making it? Are you making progress? They're saying all of it by just saying, "How's it going?"
Yeah.
You read it. You can read it.
It's a subtext.
And my literal and or hypothetical answer, depending on who's asking, is I already cracked it years ago. Like I already cracked it. What are you talking about? And then of course they're looking at you like, but you're not on TV and you're not, like you haven't made heaps of money and where's your flash car? Like no, I cracked it because I'm still doing it. You even get to it's sometimes even as base as an age thing.
Yeah.
Like I have being nearly 50 and still making music and excited and happy. It's like I've got plenty of guys that my age, we all started around the same time, and the vast majority have fallen off
have
for good reason,
faded away.
Yeah, well, just this life.
Yeah,
by my age,
priorities change.
I've got 2 and another grandchild coming. I'm a granddad of 2.5 grandchildren. I'm nearly 50. I've got 3 children who are adults who have got their own lives. I've got every reason to just say, hey, my creative thing is spent. I did it.
Yeah.
I had fun. Now it's time for me to feather my nest.
Yeah.
I just and if people choose that route, it's absolutely fine. I'm not judging it.
Yeah.
I'm just but I'm just not doing that.
You don't have to.
I can do a bit of that and I can balance it. I'm not 23. I'm not flatting with my bros. Jamming every night and getting wasted. I'm that's not my life.
Yeah.
But I can still make music, have heaps of fun, be super creative, utilize modern tools that weren't there when I started doing music. When I started making music, I make it sound like it was way back, but it was in the mid-90s.
Back in the day.
It was, you want to make music? Get in a room with some guys and some instruments and start from scratch, because that was how you did it.
Yep.
There wasn't choices.
No.
And if you even entertained the idea of being professional, then you better take all of that to a whole different level of commitment, time, money, get signed, all of the industry stuff. So, those... Yeah, I'm not in that world anymore. If I ever really was. I've been in and out. I've flirted with the commercialism of music over the years.
Yeah.
I've had opportunities and... I've run with them,
yeah.
but it's all just good experiences, and yeah.
Honestly, man, it sounds like it's been a hell of a journey. So I wanna say this to you before we wrap up the podcast.
Yep.
When you come back to Paihia, or Northland in general, come back in. Come and sit down with us again, man.
All right.
That'll be awesome. Brent, thank you so much for coming in and joining us on the Northland Artist Conversation, man. It's been an absolute blast.
I really appreciate that you'll hear my little story. And just all the creatives out there in Northland, man, I support you wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you are. I only know who I know. But, it's just so, I feel enthused, participating myself, but also just what I see and hear, and it seems like some cool things are happening, and just long may it last,
Absolutely.
New Loser, SoundCloud.
New
music coming too. I mean, I'm just going to do my little plug.
Go.
Yeah. So New Losers on SoundCloud. We got some stuff on YouTube. It's early days. We're still developing, but we stand behind what we're doing so far, what we've done so far. And if you want to check out some hard-hitting, quirky, eclectic music that's just passionate and DIY and just full of spirit, if not anything else.
Sweet.
But, please. But anyway, thanks, man. Thanks.
Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, there you go, everyone. Brent Strathdee-Pehi, nice guy, very cool. Usually, this sort of part of the podcast, I like to sort of take a moment and reflect on bits and pieces that I learned. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. Producer Andrew, what was your one take out of all of this? What was the one thing you kind of went, oh, that's exciting?
I don't actually know. Like, I sit down here and have people I actually know on this podcast, and I realize I only know I know a snapshot of their life.
Yeah.
To hear about him talk about turntabling and his origin in rock.
Yeah, man.
Like shit like that, because I knew him as the Funky North, which he unfortunately didn't get to touch on.
He
in this
didn't
podcast,
touch on it this time around. No,
that's fine. I can fill the people in. It was like a duo practically. There was a third person I didn't know, but I met Trey and Brent back when I was like more regular on the circuit, especially when hip hop was kind of in that era.
Yeah,
and they were awesome. They had a bunch, like, we were all doing our shit digitally, and they were doing acoustic songs with bongos with rap on them. It was fucking
Wow.
Sorry for my language, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yes,
Like,
it is language.
It was a bit mind blowing. It was very different to what the current kind of thing was in the community. So, yeah,
The one thing I probably got out of this whole podcast is him and I have had a lot of similarities.
yeah,
in our sort of creative lives.
Yep.
You know, we're 6 months, 5 months. 5 months different in age, both 49. You know, we kind of have a real intrinsic love of music. You know, we've both performed at sort of quite high levels as well, which has been great.
Some of the same venues.
Yeah. Like, he was just rattling off stuff, and I was like going, I know that, I know that,
Yep.
I know that. So yeah, it was really cool. It was like meeting my brother from another mother. And he was just such a cool dude, man. He was just such a nice guy. I'm going to flick to my camera now. So if you'd like to hear more of Brent's podcast or any of the other podcasts we've got, I'm going to fire you some of the details now. So you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. That's all the visual stuff, and that is all Northland Artist Conversation. It'll be scrolling somewhere down here. And then for audio, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and also YouTube podcasts as well. Again, all Northland Artists Conversation. And if you or someone that you know would be great coming and sitting down with us, or even doing a remote podcast as well, because we can do that, please feel free to reach out to us, hello@northlandartistconversation.co.nz, or hit us up through the socials. We do reply. We're pretty quick at our response time as well. And man, if you're even just sort of flying in and flying out, if we can get you on, we would love to have you. So there you go. Go back to my wide camera. Yeah. Summer. Woohoo! Just coming around the corner. I don't know about you, producer Andrew, but I'm looking forward to the longer days.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting sunburnt. I don't know. Nah.
Not so much me.
It was quite funny. I was sitting outside this morning. We had my partner's birthday
Yes.
last night,
Yep.
and we had a bunch of leftover food and salads, so I cooked up another barbecue, and I was sitting in the sun. I was like, it actually feels like it's getting that way now.
Yeah.
Because it was just sun beaming on my bare back.
It's so good, eh?
It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm just thinking Matapuri, the beaches, the surf. Oh,
Yep.
I cannot wait, man. So on behalf of myself, producer Andrew, the whole Northland Artist Conversation team, thank you so much for joining in, watching us, listening to us, sticking with us. If you're new, thank you very much for checking us out. My name's Mark Kelly. I'm your host, and we'll see you guys real soon.